In January of 23 CE, after the Green Forest Army had achieved consecutive victories against the government forces of Wang Mang's regime, its ranks grew to more than 100,000 people. Most of the rebel leaders believed that, in order to facilitate unified leadership over the entire uprising, strengthen their appeal to the common people, and advance the struggle against Wang Mang's regime on a larger scale, they should enthrone a member of the Lu imperial clan as emperor. At that time, the members of the Han imperial clan within the rebel army were basically descendants of the Marquis of Chongling, represented mainly by Lu Yan and Lu Xian. The rebel commanders became deeply divided over which of the two should be enthroned as emperor. The heroes and influential figures of Nanyang, together with Wang Chang and others, hoped to support Lu Yan, because in several battles against the government forces he had already demonstrated extraordinary strategic insight and outstanding command ability. However, the other commanders of the Green Forest Army favored Lu Xian. They were somewhat intimidated by Lu Yan's prestige and feared that, once enthroned as emperor, he would be difficult to control. Lu Xian, on the other hand, had a timid personality, making him easier to manipulate if he were made emperor. After Wang Quan, Wang Feng, Zhang Ang, and the others had settled their plans, they summoned Lu Yan back from the front lines and asked him to state his position on making Lu Xian emperor. Lu Yan understood that they wanted him to endorse an already decided arrangement, which in effect meant giving up his own ambition to become emperor. Although unwilling in his heart, he was not in a position to openly oppose them, so he proposed postponing the decision on who should be enthroned. Although Lu Yan's suggestion to delay the enthronement was not without personal motives, it was not without reason. Declaring an emperor too early could not only cause divisions among the anti-Wang Mang rebel forces throughout the country, but also provoke Wang Mang into concentrating his attacks on the Lu brothers and the Green Forest Alliance army. Lu Yan's proposal won the support of quite a few commanders. Seeing that the plan they had agreed upon might collapse, Zhang Ang became furious. Drawing his sword and striking it against the ground, he sternly declared, "Indecision accomplishes nothing. There can be no second opinion on today's decision." Seeing the situation turned so tense, no one dared raise further objections, and thus the matter of enthroning Lu Xian as emperor was settled. However, this also planted the seeds for the internal strife that would erupt later. On February 1 of the year 23, Lu Xian proclaimed himself emperor on the banks of the Yu River, restoring the Han dynasty and adopting the reign title Gingshi, thus becoming Emperor Gingshi. Lu Yan was promoted to Grand Minister over the masses, de situ, and en fait as Marquis of Hanqin, while Lu Xiu was appointed Assistant General of the Grand Minister of Ceremonies, Taichung Pianjiangjin. Lu Yan and the Lu clan members from Nanyang were extremely dissatisfied with these arrangements, but under the circumstances, within the coalition army where the Green Forest forces were numerically dominant and a powerful enemy still stood ahead, they had no choice but to temporarily accept them. Lu Yan and the Nanyang notable figures continued to lead their troops to the front lines. The Pinglin branch of the Green Forest Army laid siege to Xinya but was unable to capture it for a long time. The magistrate of Xinya stood on the city wall and shouted, "If I can receive a personal letter from Grand Minister Lu Yan, I am willing to surrender first." Soon afterward, Lu Yan arrived at the city with his troops, and Pan Lin then willingly opened the gates and surrendered. This shows that Lu Yan's reputation had already spread even among the enemy forces. At first, Wang Mang believed that the Red Eyebrow army had greater momentum, as the rebels were spread across nearly all the northern provinces and commanderies, and therefore he focused his military efforts on encircling and suppressing the Red Eyebrow forces in the north. However, after the establishment of the Gingshi regime, which restored the Han banner, Wang Mang was greatly shocked. He then realized that the Lu brothers in the south, together with the Green Forest Coalition army, posed a greater threat to the Xian dynasty regime. As a result, he decided to shift the focus of his strategic priorities. In order to completely eliminate the Green Forest Han army, Wang Mang urgently mobilized forces from various commanderies to form a powerful army to fight the Han rebels. He appointed Grand Minister of Works Wang Yi and Minister over the Masses Wang Sun as commanders-in-chief, and recruited scholars said to be versed in the 63 schools of military strategy to serve as staff officers within the army. He also appointed the giant Zhu Wuba as commander of fortifications, responsible for constructing camps and fortresses. In addition, fierce wild animals such as tigers, leopards, rhinoceroses, and elephants were gathered and kept within the army camp, with the intention of releasing them during battle to intimidate the enemy. Each province and commandery selected its best troops, led personally by the local governors and inspectors, and were ordered to assemble near Luoyang by a fixed deadline. The forces gathered around Luoyang amounted to more than 420,000 men, and were claimed to be a million-strong army. After assembling, these troops marched to Yingchuan to join the frontline forces of Yan Yu and Chen Mao, and then advanced toward Kunyang. The massive army stretched for thousands of li, with continuous lines of grain supplies and baggage trains following in unbroken succession. When the Han forces saw that Wang Mang's new dynasty army was advancing toward the Kunyang area, Wang Feng and Wang Cheng led a force of nearly 10,000 men to occupy Kunyang city. At that time, Liu Yan was commanding the main Han forces in the siege of Wancheng. The new dynasty troops defending the city were short of men and supplies, had no morale left for fighting, and no reinforcements from outside. The situation was extremely critical. In May of the year 23 CE, after the armies led by Wang Yi and Wang Sun joined forces with Yan Yu and Chen Mao, they marched from Yingchuan toward Kunyang. Within 2 or 3 days, more than 100,000 troops had arrived at Kunyang. Commander Wang Yi immediately ordered the siege of Kunyang. General Yan Yu, drawing on lessons from previous military failures, believed that it was unwise to concentrate forces on attacking Kunyang, a small, well-fortified city that was not strategically decisive. Instead, he argued that the main army should advance directly to Wancheng and defeat the Han forces besieging it. Once Wancheng fell, Kunyang would naturally surrender without being attacked. Wang Yi refused to accept Yan Yu's advice. With great arrogance, he said, "When I previously besieged Jia Yi, a former Han official who rebelled against Wang Mang and was later killed, I was criticized for failing to capture him alive. Now I command a million-strong army, and yet if I bypass an enemy city instead of taking it, how can we display our might? We should first kill all the soldiers and civilians in this city, and then march forward stepping over their blood, singing in front and dancing behind. Wouldn't that be far more satisfying?" Thus, Wang Yi persisted in besieging Kunyang with an army of over 100,000 troops. Seeing the new dynasty's massive army advancing with overwhelming momentum, Wang Feng, Wang Cheng, and others could not help but feel panic. Liu Xiu's cavalry force of 3,000 also encountered the new army in northwest Yingchuan and retreated back to Kunyang. Together with other scattered Han units that had withdrawn into the city, the total number of defenders at Kunyang amounted to about 10,000 men. Given the vast disparity in strength between the two sides, Wang Feng and the others lacked confidence in holding Kunyang. Some of the soldiers and officers who had retreated into the city were also thrown into confusion and fear, worrying about their wives and children, and wanted to disperse and return home to protect their respective regions. Seeing this situation, Liu Xiu said to everyone, "At present, our army is short of supplies and grain, while a powerful enemy lies outside the city. If we concentrate our forces to resist them, there is still a chance of victory, but if we disperse and return home individually, none of us will be able to preserve ourselves. Moreover, Liu Yan and the others are still attacking Wancheng and have not succeeded, so they are in no position to come to our aid. Once Kunyang falls, within a single day all our separate forces will be defeated and destroyed one by one. Now, if we do not unite our hearts and efforts, share life and death, and achieve merit together, but instead covet survival and fear death, how can we think only of protecting our own wives and property?" Upon hearing Liu Xiu's words, the generals became enraged and said, "How dare you lecture us?" Liu Xiu merely smiled and stood up after hearing this. Just then, scouts returned with a report: Wang Sun's main army is about to arrive north of the city. Their troops stretch for 100 li, and the rear guard is not yet in sight. Wang Feng and the others had always looked down on Liu Xiu, but in the face of the urgent situation they consulted each other and decided to ask him to devise a plan to defeat the enemy. After analyzing the situation, Liu Xiu made his decision. He arranged for Wang Feng and the Grand Commandant Wang Cheng to defend Kunyang, while he himself, that very night, left the city through the southern gate with Zhong Tiao, Li Yi, and 13 cavalrymen. He went outside Kunying to gather forces, preparing to coordinate a pincer attack from both inside and outside against the Wang Mang government army.